we want to introduce you to our viewers. Maybe some viewers do not know you. So we have a very special introduction for you. We have prepared a sprint round of questions. I will tell you the first question, and please keep your answers quite short. And please introduce yourself to our viewers. Here is your first question.
Okay, I'm Adam Bickett. I'm a software engineer from San Diego. Who am I in a nutshell? I don't know. That's too hard for a short answer. I'll think about that one and answer it later.
But please just tell us your age and where you are living.
I am 37 and living in San Diego, California.
Perfect. Okay, so the second question is maybe a bit easier. When did you begin with riding your bike and ultracycling?
First race would have been the Davis 24-hour. The first 500 that I treat as a real ultra would be at Furnace Creek 508, and that was in 2009.
Okay, great. Do you know how many bikes you own, and do you have a bike sponsor?
I don't have a bike sponsor. I've actually been clearing out bikes in my garage because I had too many, probably around 15. I just sold my RAAM TT bike and have been giving away some of the older ones that are not worth selling. So yeah, probably about 10.
That's many more than I have.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. Cool. So the next question, what about your training?
So right now it's probably like 4 or 5 hours. Ideally it's about 20 hours if I'm actually racing, and I do intend to race. So I need to get that back up towards probably 15, 20 hours.
And what was your training volume when you prepared for Race Across America?
It's tough to give an average because it was mostly long rides. It was mostly like weekend, 300-400 mile kind of adventure rides. And during the week, with a demanding job, I didn't train as well as consistently as I wanted to.
Okay, so let's move on. The next question. What do you like more, tough, high intensity, or endurance rides?
So I like both. If I have to pick one, I would honestly say intensity. When I first got into racing, it was actually crit racing, which is shorter sprint-based races for both collegiate and the USA Cycling, USCF, in SoCal. And there was something so thrilling about a sprint win or setting up a sprint and going for that. And I enjoy intense efforts, going for KOMs and stuff like this on Strava. So.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the next one is about your motivation in training.
That's a good question. I think I need to find that motivation. It's why I'm only riding 5 hours a week, right? I think it all comes down to the goal. Like, is that goal compelling enough? Do you believe in it? Are you doing something to follow it? When I had RAAM in my sights, before that it was Furnace Creek 508, there are these rides take on this almost like mythical proportion. The reality of it is it's not quite like that. It's really just a really long race. But if you give it that importance, then you can find that motivation. And I've had a lot of other things going on in my life in the last 4 or 5 years. And so the motivation had been different. And the motivation is, it's so important to be like one of your top priorities, if not the top priority, when you're actually going to race. So it hasn't been like that, but it hasn't been bad. It's just something that if I'm going to race again and I want to, then, I have to set my sights on that goal.
Yeah. And I think it's a big difference talking about motivation, because it's the reason why you do it. It's the reason why you have a goal. And the other thing is just entertainment while riding. It's two different things. But we'll talk about that later in detail. What about your greatest achievements?
I'll stick to sports and cycling. And I have to go with finishing RAAM 2015, and not just finishing it, but getting through the lung issues that I had in Colorado, making it back to the course from the hospital, which is something that was both rare and very difficult, and took a lot of work between the crew and I.
Yeah, that's definitely a great achievement, and I've been in RAAM 15 as well, and I've been struggling as well, and we'll talk about that later. But I think what's maybe even more important is not the great achievements, but the failures, the very painful ones.
Oh, that's a tough one. You know, sticking to cycling, because nothing comes to mind from general life. I think I deem it a failure whenever I'm not putting myself into staying healthy and riding. And you know, I due to various reasons, I haven't been riding nearly as much in the last 4 or 5 years, and it's not really a failure. I shouldn't see it that way, but when you go from the top, you know, that highest achievement, and then you're looking for that next thing, you know, I kind of felt like I would have liked to have kind of stayed more consistent over the past years, but no single event, you know, or thing. I don't think I see this thing, even when you don't succeed, I don't really see it as as failures.
Okay. And now let's talk about the good things of our sport again. What do you love most about ultracycling?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, I think two things, and it's kind of the opposite sides of the coin of view. One is the isolation and the time with yourself, and that's a lot on, you know, randonneur events, or just going out on really long rides, or being out there in the middle of nowhere, and just riding. The other is actually the camaraderie with the crew. So in the crewed events, it's so important, as everyone says, and you know, it's kind of cliche at this point, but it's very true that you surround yourself with your friends, and you surround yourself with people that both care about your goal and care for you, and everyone has a good time together if you put together the crew well. And also the community itself is I think the best group of people, like community, that I'm involved in all aspects of my life. So I think those two things.
Yeah, it's very nice, very nice. That's true. And the last question of the introduction round is about your goals in the future.
That's a tough one. I mean, you know, I'll start small and then go to the bigger one. One is just getting back and doing a race, like any race. Starting to train seriously again, and then that will lead to the biggest future goal is a better finish at RAAM.
Okay, but you do not have a specific year or a specific time slot, so just try to get into riding again and then see what happens. Is that true?
Yeah, well, so racing this year, RAAM, you know, within the next few years, if I can make it work. I mean, there's just so many pieces that have to come together to make that happen. And I had intended to do that in 16, and then I kind of toyed with it again in 18. And, you know, I need to make a solid plan, but I think it's reasonable to say within a few years that's doable.